Alright, we're going to do some commentary for my Jungle Strike speedrun, the Genesis version. I timed it myself. I don't know if the official timing will be the same, but we'll find out. I'm mostly going to be winging this because I haven't seen this whole run since I completed it about 2 months ago. So we're already into it. The changing the co-pilots isn't necessary. Both Ego and Mr. 3D suck. It's mostly just a habit, I guess. I used to go with Mr. 3D, but after some pretty bad runs, some aiming issues, I just kind of blamed him regardless of whether it was his fault or not, so I've been switching to Ego ever since. I missed most of this because it goes pretty fast. You'll notice I'm moving diagonally. Jinking, strafing, if you want to call it that, diagonally is faster than moving in any other way. So I pretty much go through the entire game moving diagonally, which it's hard to get used to at first, but after a while, after you've been playing it as long as I have, it becomes second nature. Because I've had this game I've been playing it since I was probably, I don't know, 6 or 7. It was from a very young age, so this game is one of my favorites, probably my favorite Genesis game that I can think of. The route for this stage is kind of a pain because everything's so spread out. And the third objective, the car bombs, those little station wagons that you see me blow up, one of them is all the way at the top of the map, and it's only convenient to one other objective, and that objective is not close to anything else. So you pretty much have to go out of your way. You have to just do your best to try to design a route that ends around there or something like that. I think I did a decent job of making sure the objectives are close enough to each other. The motorcade here is kind of a pain because it's not acceptable in most cases to get a death in this stage unless you die in such a spot that the motorcade is at the bottom of the screen so that it keeps moving during your death animation. But most of the time that didn't happen, so yeah, I reset most of the time in this stage, usually within the first 30 seconds, because either running into that gas station or auto aim just completely screwing me over, which is another thing I should go on about, is auto aim is a gigantic pain for speedrunning this game or say Desert Strike or Urban Strike. You're pretty much at the mercy of wherever the co-pilot feels is the biggest threat. Sometimes you'll have something firing at you, firing some big bad missile, and it'll just totally destroy you, but they think that this little guy with a pop gun or a signpost is a more threatening target, so you pretty much fire everything at that instead. It's really annoying, but sometimes you can deal with it, sometimes you can't. Yeah, this is pretty much the end of this campaign. You don't have to follow it all the way back there, thankfully. And I learned at some point later in my attempts that if you hold C, you automatically skip cutscenes. Which is... oh, here's a cool trick coming up. It's exactly as easy as it looks. If you go straight back into that corner there, slowly enough, you just pop right through it. And this allows you to sequence break a little bit, and you don't need to use the hovercraft for the entire mission, which is good because the hovercraft is a terrible vehicle. It's not only slower, but it has less armor, and its only good weapon basically are the mines. And the mines, it would be way too hard to actually damage anything with it. They're good against the submarines, which is the last objective for this campaign, but it's easier with the chopper to just fire everything in the kitchen sink at it and just restock your ammo in between subs. You'll notice I grabbed the armor repair there. That's because when you're hovering right in front of one of the subs, unloading everything on it, it would be very unlikely for me to not get shot down at some point. So it seemed like it would save a little bit of time to just grab the armor repair rather than taking the death. That and deaths just look sloppy. You'll only see, from what I remember, you'll only see one death? No. 2 deaths, I can't remember. There's one that wasn't quite intentional, but it didn't really cost any time. We'll get to that later. Yeah, this is what I mean. It's faster to just unload everything on it, rather than try to back into a sub and drop a mine. You'll notice that I'm actually not using the map for for any of this. It takes a while to get used to landmarks and what directions to fly in, so you don't need to use the map, because most of the time when you're playing the game normally, you're going to be checking the map a lot. Because most of this terrain looks the same. But again, once you played it for this many hours, you kind of start memorizing things. Not much left of this campaign. The thing at the end you'll see is that I have to get back through the bridge using about the same method that I used before, which is clipping through it. It's harder in reverse, or to go the other way, because it's actually a little precise. You'll see it, you'll fly into it, and you'll actually start to go through the bridge, and then you have to turn to the right and hold down. If you get it right, you'll bounce off just the one time. You can bounce twice, and that's okay, but obviously you prefer to just bounce the one time because it saves time. These guys are a real pain. I think I probably took that a little slower than I needed to, because the auto aim had trolled me at least once before. But most attempts, like I said, didn't make it past the first campaign, so to make it here, and I had a good attempt going, to lose it just because the auto aim decided to troll me it sucks. So this, I could have grabbed the quick ladder, which was around there, but you don't pick up enough objects in here to make it worthwhile. That's actually true for every stage except for campaign 5. And these watchtowers, that last one right there is annoying to get to because of where it's located. It's not convenient in the jinking route. These radar bands, not all of the trucks need to be destroyed. Sometimes the truck counts as radar as well as the dish. I think offhand it is the mission 1, campaign 3, or objective 3, I mean. Those radar bands count as radar, but the other ones in 6 or so, they don't. So it's kind of annoying. It's another thing, some of them auto-destroy, whereas if you destroy the truck, the dish blows up automatically. Other times they don't, like the one I just destroyed earlier, that second one. That one doesn't automatically blow up. Now, this communications expert here, this bunker, it doesn't become vulnerable until, or it's invincible, I mean, until you drop off the green beret at that landing zone. Don't ask me why. But, so it wrecked the route a little bit, and that radar dish there, it used to give me a lot of trouble as a kid, because that Sheridan, for some reason, the danger zone, it's way too wide, and that thing will destroy you very quickly. And that's the first real mistake I have. I must not have been paying attention. I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw it coming, but for some reason I didn't do anything about it. Don't ask me why, but it didn't seem like a big enough deal to set for, because there are far more difficult things that are coming up. Mostly Campaign 6, which is one of the worst spots in the game. There was another auto-aim problem. Not locking onto what it should have. This is ugly. Yeah, I saw that recently. Didn't cost too much. Overall, I think this campaign went pretty well. Mostly what I was looking for in this was to get through the entire thing without needing to refuel and without getting shot down, which I do here. And the landing at the landing zone at the end is very nice. Oh, that's another thing that you get used to running this game, because you can't use the map. You can't check how much ammo or fuel you have, so you just have to get a feel for it. And usually you can use the low fuel indicator, as a way of telling how far you are ahead or behind a previous time, a previous attempt. This is kind of annoying. Normally I fire 2 hydras at each tower. That's because Faceman has no aim at all. And I think he has night blindness, to be honest with you. Sometimes he'll just miss the towers for no reason at all. So, to be safe, I fire 2. Because sometimes you can hit the towers with both missiles, but it doesn't actually hit the guy on top, which is pointless, because you need to kill the guy on top, not need to destroy the tower necessarily. The helipads it's weird. It's like a point system. You need to, I forget how many points you need, but the choppers that are hovering above helipads, the ones that are stationary, count as an extra kill. Need something like 10, 13, I can't remember. But the ones that are roaming around don't count. You can just leave them alone. It doesn't count towards the objective. So, for the most part, it's kind of difficult to just dodge them. That first one is easy enough. If you just do what I did there, he'll completely miss you, or hit you with a missile and just fly off and never come back. An old route for this campaign that I used to use in testing was to go the other way around, which was it was the more the casual route that you might use. You go to the weapons commander first, and that seemed better at first because I ended up with getting RAWs earlier, which sped up destroying the POW prisons and things like that. And you also end at the landing zone, or much closer to it. But when I tested this route again, it ended up faster. So apparently my first test wasn't very good. I'll admit my emulator tests were not as precise as they should have been, probably, but decent enough. Most of the time I just did it with save states and then in real time and practice, and all the stuff in real time. So yeah, it wouldn't have been a huge difference either way. Let's see. There will be a death in this stage, but it's intentional because I could have probably refueled, but I'm not exactly sure where the fuel drum is. I never really bothered looking in that spot near where the prisoners are. It might have been quicker to destroy a hut and pick one of those up because the hut animation when you destroy one is really fast, but it seemed about the same or similar enough that I could just move on and take the death. It also gave me a little indicator of how well I was doing in this stage. I'm pretty sure this attempt I did really well, actually. I was much farther than I usually would be. Right there, yeah. I was a little bit farther than normal, losing all my fuel. I think the benchmark was something like a normal attempt. I would have lost all my fuel around the first warehouse in that little section 3. So to get through all of them was pretty good. I've had attempts that made it all the way to the jets, but not this time. The rest of this is really straightforward. The warehouses also work on a point system. The warehouses that all count as count towards the objective, and of course the jets do, and any weapons inside of the warehouses do. The crate I don't think counts as one, but the weapon inside of it does. So it was basically just try to plan it out to where most of my kills were the jets because they're quicker. This is the most annoying stage in the game by far. I think anybody who's ever played it could probably agree to that. This objective is a complete pain because of the way the AI works. The civilians, they'll run out, and you have to pick up 18 of them, I think, something like that, and they just love getting as close as they can to the building. They want you to pick them up, but they'll run pretty much in an archway, and you can't get that close, so you'll just bounce off. So I want to say I made through this without bumping into the building or any of the buildings, which is more of a feat than it sounds when you're trying to pick them up quickly. These UN guys, I don't know if destroying those guys at the UN building, I don't know if that was necessarily faster, because they do generate a lot of lag, but you also generate more lag killing them. If anything, I think it's just an old habit. I like getting them out of the way so I don't have to listen to them while I'm unloading civilians. Yeah, a bit risky there, not actually going after those guys. I think I had the armor for it, though. I've had attempts that go through one of these UN buildings, and on my way back, tactical, that pickup truck there has 100 armor. And so I fired one of the Hellfires at it to just take it out one shot. Well, auto aim failed miserably, and thought that one of those UN soldiers was a better target, or it just didn't lock on at all, so the Hellfire just went straight into that little wimpy guy and destroyed him. I don't know why Roz had something against that guy, but look at this guy. Look at auto aim. That was ugly. That was very ugly. But that guy really should have died. It doesn't take more than one missile to kill him. I don't know. Oh, that's another thing you may not... it's easier to kill her, yes. If they go into the main arch, it's easier to kill one. you can get away with it. No, but the ladders go down for a specific person. You can't just put down a ladder and then pick up another person. So that's what happened there. And so your only choice is either to try extra hard to get that guy or move away so the ladder goes back up and then go back for a second attempt. That also happens if they drop down, if a civilian is near a item pickup. It'll lower the crane, but yeah, that causes a lot of frustration sometimes. This, you just need to destroy all three buildings, three buildings, and all the drugs inside. But you need to pick up the 2 civilians. It's like I think it's also a point system too. You could either, I forget how it works, but you don't kill those 2 civilians. That was a problem. Never mind. It's been a long time. That was ugly. I could have just taken the fuel death, but again, that would have looked sloppy. You only need one of these, you don't need all 3. Clearly, I'm doing everything way out of order at this point, in case you haven't noticed. So I'm going into a danger zone here, and these little Jeep car things, whatever you want to call them, are extremely deadly in a danger zone. Probably one of the worst things you could run into, because they do 30 damage per shot normally. So they do more than that, and they fire at an incredible rate. So that's why I approached those first 2 from behind, because if you didn't, I would not have made it through that. I had a more experimental route that was slightly faster, where I came around from the left, but I tried that once in a good attempt and failed miserably because I got shot down. So after that, I was pretty sour about it and just decided, you know what, I'm not going to test any more experimental strategies mid-run. So just went with what worked. At this point, I want to say these RPG guys, I think they're also in a danger zone. Well, it's not a big deal when you approach from that direction. This motorcycle, of course, is the worst vehicle in the game. But that exit to the police station, one of the corners, isn't solid, so you can actually pass right through it on your way in and out. But it's kind of hard to line up, and if you screw it up, you waste more time than you would have saved. So I just decided to play it safe and just go out the front entrance. It does look cool when you get it to work, though. Yeah, picking up all that is not hard. Normally I'd drop a mine there and destroy that vehicle on the way back, just for the heck of it, or I look for the donkey, cow, whatever the heck it's supposed to, I think it's supposed to be a cow, all the way back, and destroy that, but it looks like I didn't pass by that way. And this, flying backwards isn't all that difficult. You just have to pay attention to those 2 houses. But this I screwed up, but I don't know why. That was an ugly fight back. I think what I wanted to do was avoid some lag. So I tried to not get as much on screen at the time. This is like the hardest campaign in the game, probably. And more on that later, but it's mostly the end. You only need to rescue 5 people and Wild Bill in this, which is convenient because the co-pilot doesn't count as a pickup. So my load is only 5, which leaves just enough for the general, so I don't need to stop the landing zone ever. Yes, I like this strategy here. That's an M1 battle tank, which is the strongest, for the most part, it's the strongest vehicle in the game. So taking one of those on in a danger zone is pretty much impossible unless you have massive suicidal tendencies. So that's pretty much what I did there, is I just thought wasting the ammo on it wouldn't work, so I'll just drop a chopper on it. And it worked pretty well, actually. Just as long as you know the right spot, you just let it run into you. Even if you're a little late, it still works, because it'll drive into the flaming wreckage and blow itself up. This, let's see, I probably didn't need to restock as much as I did, but for convenience sake, might as well. I'm right there. Let's see. I don't think there's much to note here. That fuel drum, I don't think that was necessary in one of my older routes. This newer one, though, when I get to the bunkers, the snow bunkers, the goal was to try to sort of destroy some of the stuff without spawning the choppers that guard them, because the second chopper in the route, I think it's second. Basically, you destroy one, and it spawns a chopper at the next bunker. So you're pretty much shooting yourself in the foot. So the goal was to approach it from the top and basically destroy the reactor without actually entering the spawning zone, but that didn't happen this time around, as you'll see. One of my emulator plans was to get in the middle and kind of do what I'm attempting to do here and failing at miserably, is like a spin around a circle and fire missiles, 2 missiles each, and basically maximize the time. You had no auto aim nonsense going on, but it didn't really work that time. I don't think it ever really has worked outside of emulator practice, of course, because you know how it is, nothing ever works that works in practice. This is another one of those places that is really nasty for auto aim, because if you're too trigger happy, the idiot co-pilot will just decide that the reactor that you need to pick up is the worst possible target and won't destroy it. And not only is that bad for your run, that's also bad for casual play too, because there are only so many to go around, and it's very easy to fail the mission. See, the plan didn't work. I didn't approach from the top as well as I should have. So instead, I just kind of had to dodge this chopper a lot. So that was a pretty scary thing while I was doing it, to play Matador with it, basically. Because if I had destroyed that, there would have been a chopper here at this one, and that one is harder to avoid. This one's always there, and I always try to get as much done from outside its range, because when I go to pick it up, things get a little nasty. Sometimes if you don't approach that at the right angle, it can end up crashing into you when you go to pick up the reactor or warhead, and if you get bounced off of it, in addition to getting the 150 damage missile, odds are you're gonna die. This campaign's not so bad, except for this first part. The F-117 is a complete piece of junk, and nobody should ever use it, even if they're playing casually, because it can't stop. And I mean, it has unlimited fuel, unlimited ammo, but it can't stop, and it has a horrible turning radius. And if you hit anything, you die instantly. Well, as you can see there, I missed the landing because you have to be at a very specific spot along the landing strip, and you can jink in the stealth fighter, but it's really touchy to where you could be holding A and you move just left to right just to nudge it a little bit to get into position, but for some reason the game throws the crap out of you, because when you let go of A or you let just slightly off the button, it pretty much repeats your last action, so you nudge a little to the left or right again, which is what happened that first time I failed to land. So it's basically, if you're gonna adjust left to right on that landing strip, you have to do it well in advance, and just in case it screws you over like that. That was probably the worst mistake in the run. I really wasn't happy with it, and I'm not sure I really thought about scrapping the run at that point, but I figured it probably wasn't going to be so good. But the final time convinced me otherwise. It really wasn't as bad as I made it out to be. That usually happens when you do speedruns. When it's happening, it seems like the worst thing ever. But when you look back and you only lost like 7 seconds, it's not so bad. But this campaign is actually pretty easy with the chopper, because you can actually control where you're going, and particularly Mission 5, the fuel depot, is so much easier with the chopper, because there are a lot of obstacles. If you were in the stealth fighter, you would crash into and die immediately. And that's another thing that's a problem with the stealth fighters, that since you can't stop and the turning is horrible, if you miss a bombing run on something, you lose a lot of time turning around and trying to reline up for it. So it definitely seemed easier, especially with the jinking diagonally to move faster. It seemed a lot better to stick with the chopper for this. And conveniently enough, there are some item pickups along the way that make that a lot easier. You do, yeah, as you can see, you only need to destroy the objects inside each of those pyramids. The scientists, you don't need. Conveniently enough, there's a fuel down there, because that is an issue in this if you don't pick it up at some point. Pick that up, just, I didn't mean to, but I figured I'm turning around, might as well pick up that fuel drum. Not too much else to that. You'll notice I've been hitting the bridges as I'm on the way. It's one of the later objectives. I finished the Patriot missiles, that launcher right there. That's the last objective to finish, because one of the missile launchers is almost right next to the landing zone, so it works out pretty nicely. You do run low on ammo once you get to the last one, though. It's kind of annoying, but it's no big deal. You can sometimes get the last Gatling gun to fire at the missile launcher and help you out if you really are short on ammo. I don't remember if I was short on him this time around. No, doesn't look like it. Okay, we're on to campaign 8, which is, if you're playing casually, is definitely supposed to be the hardest. It's not actually that bad. You'll notice I'm doing it way out of order here. Starting with campaign or objective 4, which is the villa thing. Yeah. This is where the unintentional death is. Because I'm in a danger zone, you'll notice there it is. Because I'm in a danger zone, everything in there was just could completely destroy me. So I used that against them and had them help me. Oh, that's another mistake. That was horrible. Had them help me destroy the villa, which usually has a lot of armor on it. The death actually wasn't that bad, because if I hadn't died there, I would have picked up an armor repair, which was fairly close to that villa anyway. So it was pretty much the time spent dying, the death animation, versus destroying a little pyramid thing and picking up an armor repair. I think they come out to pretty much the same. And considering avoiding a death there is actually really difficult, I didn't think it was that bad. The watchtowers that you saw up there are pretty. They're pretty. Well, that was a bad thing. The watchtowers are pretty sick. There are 4 of them, and the bottom one, the very bottom one, is in normal play. That's the one you should go after first, because destroying that removes the danger zone from the rest of them. The game doesn't tell you that at all, and there's no logical way why would you go for the bottom one. But that's how it works. I don't have that luxury here, so I had to just go into the danger zone and hope for the best. That mission right there with the tomahawks, I think it went better than some of my earlier attempts, but as I started to get better, and I started to get sub 45, which was one of my earlier goals, once I started to get less than that, it just seemed like I started to get worse and worse at that section. I don't think it went too terribly other than smacking into that mountain, but it's a real pain when you got a bunch of stuff firing missiles at you that do 1/5 of your maximum armor in one shot. So the rest of this campaign is actually really easy for the most part. Mostly just fly near an object and fire everything you got at it, pick up some more ammo or whatever, and repeat. That reminds me of something, you didn't see it there, but it has happened in one of my earlier attempts, campaign 9, when it comes up. I mentioned in the comments that sometimes when you blow up a building or an enemy, the explosion animation finishes immediately. So if there was someone in there inside that vehicle that you blew up that you needed to rescue or pick up, you would pretty much destroy them immediately, because the explosion is supposed to happen, and so all that stuff you were firing shouldn't hit them, but when it finishes instantly like that, yeah, it ruined one of my attempts here with one of the armored cars that spawns at General. You're supposed to pick him up, but the thing finished instantly and I killed the guy. And oddly enough, the game didn't consider that mission failure. So what ended up happening was, unless I flew around and let all the fuel run out of the tanks for all 3 lives, I was screwed. Because there are no mission fails, so you can't restart unless you die. It was some quality testing on their part. This campaign It's a little irritating. It's gotten a lot better since when I would normally play before working on this run. Casual play, this objective was a real pain, the enemy weapons, because you have to destroy a certain number of tanks, these A cars here, but the game doesn't tell you where they are until you've destroyed most of them, because that's how nice it is. So figuring out all the locations on the map and then kind of memorizing where to go made that a lot better. So if I ever had to play this again, it won't be such a pain. Ammo. See, the ammo was a bit of a concern earlier on, because if you don't get to that first armored car, if you're too short on ammo, it'll probably shoot you down. Fairly likely to get shot down there too. That's the car that what I was talking about with the killing the general that popped out. That's the one it happened on. As you see, it low armor there, so I have to go through the rest of the campaign on low armor, which isn't too bad. It comes up at the very end though, because there are two guys with RPGs guarding the last nuke truck. So 75 damage a shot. It's kind of scary when you're low armor, and from what I remember, low armor warning comes up when you have something like 100 or less. So yeah, that's a little scary. And as you saw there, auto aim decided that ammo truck was far more of a threat than a tank. Which in a way almost was a little helpful, because I want to get that ammo truck before it gets away too far, save some travel time. But I'd kind of also like to not die, so I wish that auto aim wasn't so horrible and it would actually choose targets that make sense. The rest of this is really straightforward and runs pretty much over at this point. Just more fine trucks on unload. This is the last truck coming up here, and I hit the last A car here and finish that objective. And I kill these guys, because like I was saying, it really wasn't worth it to try to dodge missiles while also trying to shoot this thing. That and auto aim might have decided that they were a better target when I was hitting every weapon button in the controller. So yeah, that's the run there. I left the credits in for whatever reason, probably because I was too excited about getting something less than 43 minutes. The credits are really long, actually pretty dumb. It's the same screen of them waving the whole time. I thought Desert Strike honestly had a better credit sequence, but what else? Nothing comes to mind. I've thought about running some of the other Strike games, since I'm a big fan. I played a lot of Desert Strike too as a kid. Not as much as this. This was definitely my favorite. But I do have some experience with Desert Strike and less with Urban Strike. I am interested in running those at some point. I don't want to commit to it or anything, but unfortunately, Mike 89 has kind of dropped the idea of running Desert Strike. I'm a bit disappointed to hear that, but maybe at some point I'll pick it up. It seems like, if anything, it'll be overall easier than Jungle Strike, because it's a much shorter game. It's only 4 campaigns, and their jinking isn't faster in that game, so it would be pretty nice to do it and be able to fly in a straight line. it certainly would be a lot less painful on my thumb, because I was using for this one of the Genesis Model 3 controllers with 6 buttons, and if you ever use one of those, the D-pad on it is kind of raised up, so it cuts into your thumb a little bit when you're holding diagonals the entire time. Urban Strike might, I thought about that after doing this run, because a lot of the, I wouldn't say tech, that's a strong word, but it's very similar to this game, so a lot of what I was used to here would have carried over well, even more than Desert Strike. But I'm not all that knowledgeable about that game. I've only played through it a few times, and it has these on-foot levels that really should not exist. One of the dumbest ideas. And since your ammunition is limited, I was kind of wondering if I did a run of Urban Strike, whether it would actually be any good, because you can't auto fire with the machine gun, which is what you're going to be using a lot of on those on-foot levels. And I don't mash at all. I can get maybe 6 to 7 presses per second, and you know, considering some of these people at SDA, they get, oh, I don't know, crazy numbers like probably 15, 16, things like that. I just wondered if I would lose quite a few seconds just on those levels alone. So it seemed like it would be better to leave it to somebody who can mash in addition to everything else. And we'll see. The other games, the 3D games, Soviet Strike and Nuclear Strike, no, definitely no intention of ever running those games. Nuclear Strike actually isn't that bad of a game. I played the PlayStation version of it. It takes a lot of getting used to, but it's not that bad, but it would be a nightmare to speedrun, just because the controls and the camera is horrible. Soviet Strike, I haven't actually completed that yet. I played a little bit of it, and I had the Saturn version of it, and yeah, the frame rate dies if an enemy shows up. So, end of the credits, so yeah, that's all.